without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Blue moon, you knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer for someone I really could care for. Hey there, I'm Thomas Michaud. We're going to learn Blue Moon today using easy guitar chords. There have been many versions of this song done by many artists, including Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Billie Holiday, and maybe most famous, the Marcels, the doo-wop version. I'm going to show you a version that sounds good, but won't take a lot of complicated chords. I'll start off with an easy strum version, which sounds great. But if you're so inclined, I'll show you a fingerpicking pattern you can use as well. I'll start off showing you the basic chords. By the way, you can get the sheet for this song by going to my website at thomasmichaud.com. I'd recommend having it handy as we go through the lesson. We'll divide the song into two sections. I'll call them the verse and the chorus. Let's get started. Now, in the intro, I played the song using a capo on the 2nd fret. That's easier for my voice to sing. I raised it up 2 half steps or 1 whole step. We're going to play it in the key of C, and you can put the capo anywhere you want if you want to raise the pitch. I made it in the key of D by going 1 whole step, but I'm going to take that off to teach you, and I'm going to show you the chords without the capo. The chords are fairly simple, and the majority of the song is a very common pattern. Some people call it a turnaround pattern, but I often refer to it as a 1-6-4-5 pattern. If you don't know what that means, it's very useful to understand common chord progressions. So I'll put a link to a lesson on that. So here's that basic chord progression that we're going to use 7 times in the verse alone. C, I'm using a folk style open C chord, A minor, a nice change from the C to A minor to just move the 3rd finger next to the 2nd finger. Now we're going to an F, and you can use a non-bar chord version that sounds fine, especially when you get to the finger picking. Or if you prefer a bar chord, that works great too. And then a G. When I play the folk style C, I usually go to this 3-finger pinky G. Now, you play it any way you want, and if you're used to a different form, that might be best for you. I often use this 4-finger G, but that's a lot of switching from that C chord. So let's try this basic progression, and then we'll map it out with the words. C, 1 strum each, A minor, F, any form you want, and G. Again, C, A minor, F, and G. Sound familiar? Well, it's been used in a lot of songs. 1-6-4-5. That's the 1 chord in the key, the 6th chord, A minor, F is the 4 chord, and then the 5 chord. Now, we're going to add 2 strums to each chord because that's more like how we're going to play the song. Let's try it. C, A minor, F, and G. Again, C, A minor, F, and G. Now, let's go ahead and map out that first verse, put the chords with the words. I'm going to do one little turnaround, basically start the chord progression before I start, because the words come in before the first C chord. So it's going to be like this. 2 strums each, A minor, F, and when you hit the G, we start the words. Blue moon, and moon is right on the C chord. Here we go. Ready, hit it. A minor, going to F. We're going to do this same pattern over and over. G, now here come the words. Blue moon, right on the C. A minor, next. F. You saw me standing, back to C. Going to F without a G. Dream in my C chord, heart, A minor. Going to F again without a G. Love of my own. Keep going, A minor. Not a lot of changes, huh? You see why I said it's good to practice this progression? Back to C. Blue moon, second half of the verse, A minor. You knew just G. Back to C. You heard me G saying back to C, a prayer for A minor, F. Someone I G really could curve for. Here's a change, C. Now to F. This is the end of the verse. Back to C. And then C7. And if you're not familiar with C7, that's just a C chord with the pinky down on the third string, third fret. That makes it a C7. Now, that sets you up for the chorus. And that's the only change in the verse. At the very end there, it goes C, F, and C, and then a C7. C and then C7. That creates a kind of a tension. You hear that C7, it wants to go somewhere, and it's going to go on to the chorus. Now, for the chorus, it's actually very similar. It's a pattern that goes around and around in a cycle until the very end. But instead of a C, A minor, we're starting with a D minor, G, C, A minor. So even though we're starting on the D minor, it's actually the same progression, starting on what would be the F, and we substitute D minor for F. So what I mean is, remember we did C, A minor, F, and G? Now it's C, A minor, D minor, and G. By the way, it's not uncommon to substitute the D minor for the F in that key of C. So just take my word for that. I won't go into the theory part of it. But now you're starting on what would have been the F, the D minor, and doing the same turnaround pattern, see? D minor, G, C, A minor. So if you see it that way, it's easy to remember. So that said, let's just practice it, starting with the D minor. The words come in a little before the D minor. You're still on this last C7. We're on that C7. And then there go to D minor. Suddenly to G appeared before me. A minor. Now start the progression over. D minor. Da 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 to G and to C. Now back to D minor. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. Going to D7 now. And when I looked, the moon had turned to G. Go. Okay, I'll go through the chorus one more time. We get a lot of bang for buck because it repeats the same chorus over and over. So if you practice it, you're going to reuse it. So it starts again, you're on the C7, and then there D minor, G to C, A minor, come on, play along, D minor to G to C, A minor. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me, A minor. Here comes that D7. Do da 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 to G. And yes, you guessed it, goes back to the verse. Blue moon. F, you saw me standing, and yes, that same progression over and over. Now, the basic form of the song goes verse, then you have the chorus, and then it goes to verse 2, same melody and chords, but different words, then chorus, and then verse 2 again, and then chorus. That's a great arrangement of the song. Elvis did differently. He just skipped the chorus and just did the verses. So there's a variety of things you can do with this. I'm going to show you a fairly simple but very useful finger-picking pattern that we can use with this song. It's not the only one, but it's a good one. It sounds like this. Blue moon, you saw me standing alone, without a dream without a love of my own. So did you notice I was doing the non-bar version of F? Because I was only picking the strings in the middle. I wasn't picking the low E or the high E, so that F worked perfectly. I didn't have to worry about the higher strings. In any case, the pattern's like this. You're going to put your thumb on the bass note for the C chord, that's the 5th string. Then you rest the fingers on the 4, 3, 2. Go ahead and try that with me just to see what it feels like. So now you're going to push the thumb down, first finger off, second finger, third. Now you're going backwards. Go back to the next string and then the first finger. We often describe fingerpicking patterns by calling out the strings. Once you got the basic technique, you just need to know which strings to pick. So this pattern would be called a 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, going backwards. And of course, I'm calling this low string the 6th string and the high string the 1st string. So a good way to practice this fingerpicking pattern is, first of all, just get it on one basic chord. Go slow, try to get even, and try to stay relaxed. If you tense your hand, it doesn't sound as good, plus it creates a bad habit. And when I say relax, don't pull your hand out, but rather pull your fingers into your palm. That tends to make a more pleasing sound. Now, that's not exact. If you pull your hand out a little, it's really not a problem, but I'm saying aim that direction. So start with the C chord. Try it with me. First plant, that means put your fingers in the right place, and then start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. And then A minor, let's try it on there. Thumb stays on the 5th string. Go. Now the F chord, I'm going to do the non-bar F. 5th string still is the bass. Go. So if you like the sound of that low F in the bass, you might want to make the bar chord. And another option is to just move the whole hand down so it's on the 6, 5, 4, 3, and just press the bass note. See, now I'm not doing anything with the 1st and 2nd strings, so you don't have to worry about that. Bar chord works good for me, or this non-bar F, I'll call it. Now for the G. Bass note is the 6th string for the G. And you can keep the fingers in the same strings that they were for the C, A minor, all that. So try it once with me. We're going to go 2 of those patterns on each of the chords, starting with C chord. Ready, go. And again, C, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Go to the A minor chord, play it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Now the F, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. And then the G, thumb goes to the 6th string. Good. Nice. Now here's with the words, just so you can listen or you can try it with me. When we do it with the song, it's just one pattern per chord. So it's going to be blue moon. You saw me standing alone. So what you want to do is get to where you can practice the pattern with one finger picking pattern per chord. Start slow and then build up until, somewhere in this area. Now, you probably guessed that the chorus is almost exactly the same. The only change there is that you're going to make this D minor chord and the bass is going to be on the 4th string. So watch out for that. Now we go back to just the same finger picking pattern. When I get to that D minor, I gotta move my thumb over to the 4. You got this. Okay, there's a lot of ways you can play this. Boy, I was listening to Frank Sinatra, totally different. Took me a while to even recognize the song. In any case, as usual, I encourage you to learn this lesson by breaking the parts down and adding them back together. It's really helpful in this particular song to learn that pattern, the 1-6-4-5, C, A minor, F, and G, and just get it to where you're comfortable playing that pattern. Not only will it take up all the verses, but it's a pattern you'll use over and over in other songs as well. When you get to the chorus, practice that D minor to G to C to A minor pattern, and then put the words to it. It's a much more efficient way to learn a song than just struggling chord by chord and trying to match it with the words. Thanks for joining me for this guitar lesson. I look forward to seeing you in another lesson. Now, if you haven't already, don't forget to go to my website, thomasmichaud.com, and download the sheet for this song. If you could use some help with using your capo to change keys like I did in the beginning of this lesson, I've created a video that will help you with that, and I'll include that right here.